Okay, so zero exponents. Any non-zero number. Now, a non-zero number, y'all, is exactly that. It is any number except zero, okay? A non-zero number raised to the 0 power is equal to 1. So an example would be, sorry about the filming, my phone is shaking. A to the 0 power is 1. Anything to the 0 power is 1. That is it. Okay? So let's do a few examples. If I give you 15 to the 0 power, the answer is 1. If I give you B over C to the 0 power, the answer is 1. If I give you 2/7 to the 0 power, the answer is 1. Okay? I love this. You ready? If I give you -4 n squared q to the 5th r squared over 9 n cubed q squared to the r, and all of that to the 0 power, what is the answer? 1. We do not have to separate it. We do not have to do anything, okay? All right. But now that is different than if I give you this. B to the 4th, C squared, D to the 0 power, over B squared C. Okay, I'm going to move my phone to try to make this more steady, so sorry. All right, now watch. The difference, y'all, you see this big complicated problem? In parentheses, all of it is in parentheses to the 0 power. Down here, the only thing to the 0 power is D. So you have to go back. That's why I say you always got to stick with the basics of separate, 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 okay? So we have, what we have here is B 4 over B squared, C squared over C to the 1st power, and D to the 0. All right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to subtract the numerator exponent minus the denominator exponent. So I have B, 4 minus 2, C, 2 minus 1, and D to the 0 power. I'm just leaving it right there until I get towards the end of the problem. So now I have B, 4 minus 2 is 2, 2 minus 1 is 1, and D to the 0 power is 1. I don't need this, and I don't need this. Okay, so I'm just going to leave it at B squared C. All right. Now I need y'all to pay attention to negative exponents. Okay? As we flip the page, I need you to pay attention to negative exponents. This is one of those concepts that you might have to go back and look at the video a couple of times. For any non-zero number A and any integer n, see that's an n, a to the negative n, is the reciprocal of a to the n. Okay, reciprocal means that we're going to flip that fraction. Okay, we're going to flip that fraction. All right, so if you have a to the negative n, it actually is 1 over a to the n. Now, the way that I remember this, if I have a negative exponent, let me show you right here. If I have a negative exponent, this negative becomes my division sign. Do you see how this, I just make it my division sign? It grows to be my division sign. That's the only way that I can remember. If I have a negative exponent, I've got to turn it into a fraction. Okay? You cannot have negative exponents, period. You cannot. So let's do a couple examples here. Okay. If you have 2 to the negative 4th, remember, that division, that little negative sign is going to become our division. So we're going to write 1 over 2 to the 4th. And if you multiply out 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, it is 1 over 16. Okay, so let's do another one. If we have 1 over j to the negative 4. All right, so if my exponent is negative and it's already in the denominator, okay? Reciprocal means you flip it, correct? So what I'm going to do is when this negative, let's go back. This is technically over what? This whole number is over what? 1. So do you see how this and this became the reciprocal? Okay. So if I need to get rid of that negative, to get rid of a negative exponent, you just flip it. So this now needs to go into my, yes, numerator. So it just makes it j to the 4th. I don't have to put over 1. So if you have a negative exponent in the denominator, it's now going to go to the numerator. If you have a negative exponent in the numerator, it's now going to go to the denominator, okay? Now, I'm fixing to do a lot of steps on 2 problems. And that's why I said you're probably going to have to look at this over and over. But if you need help, make sure you come in and ask. Okay, here we go. Pay attention. N to the negative 5, p to the 4th, over r to the negative 2. Now, the first thing I noticed, I don't have any bases that are the same. I have an N, a P, and an R. I don't have any bases the same. So I'm going to separate everything out. Watch. Since this N to the negative 5 is in the numerator, it's over 1. P to the 4th is in the numerator, it's over 1. And then I have this negative, or r to the negative 2, that's in the denominator, so my numerator is 1. Okay, all I did. Now I'm going to focus on what are my negative exponents. Okay, this has a negative exponent, and this has a negative exponent. My p to the 4th is positive, so I don't have to worry about it. So I'm going to take those 2 fractions, and I'm going to flip them. I'm going to do the reciprocal. Okay, so how do I do the reciprocal? I just write it n to the 5th. It's now positive because it's the reciprocal. I do not mess with p to the 4th because it was already positive. And now I'm going to do r squared over 1. If I moved it from the numerator to the denominator to the numerator, it made it a negative to a positive. And we know when you multiply by 1, you do not have to write the 1. Because 1 times p to the 4th is just p to the 4th, right? So my answer is p to the 4th, r squared over n to the 5th. And that answer is correct because there are no negative exponents. Okay, there are no negative exponents. All right, I want to do another problem. If you have room on your paper, you probably should, but I want to be able to write this out for you. So here, let's do the next example. Five r to the negative 3 over t to the 4th over negative 20 r squared t to the 7th u to the negative 5. All right, it's okay. We just have to keep matching bases together. Well, I have a coefficient and a coefficient. I have a base of r and a base of r. Let me see if blue is too dark. I don't think it is. I have a base of t and a base of t. So you have to make sure that you still put those together. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to break it out. 5 over negative 20. I'm going to write what I have. R to the negative 3 over R squared. T to the 4th over T to the 7th. And then I don't have a U, so that means the 1 is on top, and U to the negative 5 is on the bottom. Now, we have to go back to, is it the power of quotients, I do believe? Quotient of power and power of quotients. We have to divide the exponent in the numerator from the exponent in the denominator before we can decipher if this is a negative exponent. Because right now I have two bases. Right here I have two bases that are R, two bases that are T, and only one base that's a U. Do y'all see that? Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to simplify. 5 divided by negative 20 simplifies to what? Negative 1 over 4. And you want to keep that fraction because remember, we got to keep our numerators and our denominators lined up. So right here I have R, negative 3. If I'm dividing, do I add or subtract? Subtract, minus 2. Then I have T, 4 minus 7. And then here, to make this a positive, actually we can just leave it right now. Y'all want to leave it right now? 1 over U to the negative 5, because I don't have anything to subtract, so we're just going to leave it for right now. All right, so let's do the next step. Negative 1/4 R. Negative 3 minus 2 is R to the negative 5. 4 minus 7 is R to the negative 3. And then I still have 1 over U to the negative 5. Okay, this is where a lot of students, this is where we mess up. If I give you just, and this is just an example over here on the side, if I give you just a number 3 squared, okay, y'all would tell me that that is over what number? 1. So that's what you have to think. If I do not have a 1, these are in the numerator. If I do not have it, if it's not over a number, it's over 1. So what I'm going to do here, so that you can see it, I'm going to do it in a different color. This is technically over 1. This is technically over 1. So to make those negative exponents positives, I have to flip my fraction. I have to use the reciprocal. I'm almost done, so I want to continue. Okay, so I have negative 1/4. To make this a positive 5 exponent, I now have 1 over 5 to the 5th. I said 5 to the 5th. R to the 5th. 1 over T cubed. And now I'm going to go ahead and flip this one. U to the 5th over 1. The reason I write this out like this is because now you can go straight across and write out your answer. Okay. The negative sign is in the numerator. Do you see that? So I have negative U to the 5th. It's okay if my coefficient is negative. My exponent cannot be negative. And I'm just going to write out what I have. 4 R to the 5th T cubed. And you are finally done. If you have any additional questions, please come see me.